Hello, and welcome back to Loud Creations. Today I am going to be talking about my Scarborough Fair Mead. I have a little herb garden in the back, and most of the herbs are going pretty strong. And I really wanted to make something using those herbs. I've already used my rosemary in my lemon rosemary mead, and that kind of got the ball rolling on this Scarborough Fair Mead, which I'm calling Scarborough Fair Mead because of the song Scarborough Fair by Simon and Garfunkel. These guys. Anyway, if you don't know the song, check it out. I think it's based on an older song that I believe is from the 18th century, could be 19th century. I don't know for sure, but anyway, I'll get into that more at the end of the video. I want to start out by just talking about how to make this mead, what the ingredients are, and all of that. So let's get to it. So the primary ingredients that I used in this mead for the flavorings, the herbs that I used are, I went out and I cut about 3 sprigs of rosemary. I used a handful of parsley and a few sage leaves. My sage plants were not looking super well. So I got what I could from the sage plants, and my thyme is taking a little rest for the winter, or I might need to plant more. So I had to go ahead and use just thyme from a jar. And I started out by pouring half a gallon of water into my stock pot and bringing that to a boil. While that was heating up, I took my parsley, sage, rosemary, and thyme and put it into a mesh bag, just so for ease of getting stuff into the carboy without all of the plant material. As soon as the water was boiling, I dropped that on in, put a cover on it, and then let it simmer for, I would say, 15 to 20 minutes, just to make sure we get all those nice flavors in there. While the parsley, sage, rosemary, and thyme were steeping, I went ahead and added 2.5 pounds of raw honey and measured that out within, a fraction of 2.5 pounds, added that in, and then set that aside and waited for the tea to be ready. Once the tea was ready, I squeezed the tea bag as much as I could to get all the good nutrients and flavors out of the plants, and cleaned my mesh bag, but you didn't really need to know that, I guess. Anyway, I squeezed the mesh bag to get as much of the flavors and nutrients out of the plants, and then I poured the hot liquid over the honey that I had put into the carboy. At this point, I want to oxygenate the must, and so I stirred, and also I want to mix in the honey and melt it. So I gave it a good stir for a few minutes and got that ready. Then I took a little bit of the honey and tea mixture and put it into a glass along with 1/2 teaspoon of Go Firm, which is a yeast energizer, I believe. And I stirred that up and set it aside for 10-15 minutes just to let that get going. Once that was done, I went ahead and added in a heaping 1/2 teaspoon of EC 1118 yeast. I added that into my cup with the Go Firm and gave it a good stir and set that aside for another 10 minutes or so. The next thing that I did is I just feel like lemon would be good with this recipe because it is, in my view, a medicinal mead, kind of like a cold care mead, and lemon brings all of its own benefits, vitamin C being a big one. And so I put in some of my lemon zest that I had dried a while back, and I would say it's approximately the zest of 1/3 of a lemon, maybe half a lemon. Secondary is when I will decide whether or not I want to add lemon juice or any tannins. But at this point, I just put in some lemon peel. I then added another, I would say a third of a gallon to the must, just to bring the water level up and to help cool off that hot tea water. And then when the yeast was ready and the must had cooled off to body temperature-ish, I went ahead and pitched the yeast slurry. And again, gave it a good stir. I would say I stirred for about 5 minutes. I want to make sure I got plenty of oxygen in there. And the last step is I put a lid on, and along with an airlock with some sanitization fluid in it, and put it in my closet. Now, I am here the next day with the mead, and like I said, you can tell that the yeast got off to a very strong start and bubbled up into the airlock. So I will be cleaning that after I'm done making this video. I'm going to go ahead, and I have my little tin with all my powders, my mead making powders, and I'm going to go ahead and give this a 1/4 teaspoon of Fair O. And I'm going to do this today at 24 hours, tomorrow at 48 hours, the next day at 36 hours, and then on the 7th day. My method, I read up on it, and for whatever reason, I don't want to get into like calculations and all of that. I prefer just to wing it. So this is how I'm doing my step feeding. If you want to do it completely, the way you're supposed to do it, which is probably valid, I would highly recommend doing your own research and figuring out what works for you. But that said, with that caveat, I will go ahead and I'm going to add the yeast nutrient. You can see whether or not this foams over, because sometimes that happens too. I will be right back. I need to go get a measuring spoon. So I'm back, and I got my measuring spoon. Here's my little 1/4 teaspoon. Now, my Fair Mead is in this big bag because the bag it came in didn't reseal. So here's my big bag of Fair Mead. I'm going to go ahead and measure out 1/4 teaspoon that's getting all over my lap. And I'm just going to put this in. Sprinkle, sprinkle. Okay. That in. All right, fingers crossed this this doesn't explode, because I didn't put my table out like I normally do for videos, and if it explodes, it's going to be in my lap. So let's see. You want to stir stuff around to oxygenate the must and keep those yeasties happy. But as you can see, it's foaming up quite a bit. Doesn't look like it's quite going to blow over, so that's good. I mean, it already has. So all right, so that part is done. And I found this interesting article. Hold on here. So I found this interesting article. I think it's actually kind of an advertisement, but it had some interesting information at wildzora.com. It's a blog post about parsley, sage, rosemary, and thyme. And it says that this combination has been used for centuries, both as medicinal remedies and as a seasoning. And it's obviously associated with the Scarborough Fair song, but this combination of herbs has been in use for a very long time. And what it says here about so the song was believed to have originated in the 19th century. And it's possible that the herbs simply made the song, they go together nicely. But they also carry symbolic meaning. So parsley removes bitterness. Sage, it represents strength and wisdom. And Rosemary represents love and fidelity. This is according to one article, but I like this. And thyme is courage and happiness. And so oftentimes in poetry and songs in the 19th century, flowers were used as a symbolic language in written prose. So that I thought was very interesting. So here are some of the nutritional elements to these herbs as well that would make me think that it's a great cold care mead. Parsley is rich in vitamins, including vitamin A, vitamin C, K, and B. Also helps with bad breath, and it can support kidney health as well. Apparently, it's a source of calcium and iron as well. Health benefits of sage include it helps with mitigating diabetes, keeping your skin looking healthy. It can be used as like a facial tonic. It helps with digestion, the development of bones, and it reduces inflammation. It's basically good for overall gut health. So rosemary is good for headaches and mental clarity. So, hey, I think that's just great. So, and thyme is often used for respiratory illnesses, and it's good for clearing chest congestion and helping with coughs and also headaches. That said, I think that this mead is going to be very useful because we're still, maybe for the next cold and flu season, I'm going to try to age this for a while, but I will be back in a couple weeks to rack it and add a couple more ingredients to secondary, possibly if I think they would fit the flavor profile. And so next video will most likely have lemon juice and possibly some tannins added into this, and we'll get a gravity reading and see where it's going. Which reminds me, I forgot to talk about the gravity reading. So the original gravity for this is written here. Okay. The original gravity is 1.087-ish. Because this one's pretty foamy and it was not the easiest to read, but I'm hoping to just let this one run dry, and yeah, so we'll see how this works out. The yeast seem pretty happy so far. I hope this video was useful, and I will see you in a couple weeks to check in on this, and I'll see you next time. Thank you.